From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 7, streaming now.
Good evening and thanks for joining us here at 7 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins here with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory. And Kevin, the threat of storms dominated the early evening. How are we looking now?
It's all about the temperature now. There are still some strong thunderstorms. I'll show those to you in a second. Let's flash back all the way to 1 o'clock. Temperature was at 77 in the metro area, 78 down in Bloomington, 80 in Terre Haute. And look what's happened. Temperature in Terre Haute is 49 now. 47 in Lafayette, temperatures in the 40s in Indy. Just wanted to show you from the Gulf Coast of Louisiana all the way into Quebec, Canada, that line of showers and thunderstorms with the transition to much colder air. Eastern Indiana, let's say Batesville East, Brookville Reservoir, south end of Richmond and Liberty, that's the confined area where stronger storms would be. Heavier rain again will pass through Johnson County and areas to the east as that burst of colder air arrives. Here's your temperature trend for the evening. We'll fall into the lower 40s by tomorrow morning. That's not the coldest in my forecast, though.
And now to our continuing coverage of the coronavirus and its impact on Indiana. The State Department of Health reports more than 2,500 new COVID-19 cases. It is the 17th consecutive day that Indiana has more than 1,000 new cases reported. 27 more Hoosiers died with COVID-19, bringing the total number of COVID-related deaths to 3,858. Since March, more than 157,000 Hoosiers have tested positive for the virus, and more than 2.6 million tests have been administered in Indiana. Tonight, in just under 30 minutes, a virtual event will begin to support local arts and cultural organizations that are struggling right now during the pandemic. The Arts Council of Indianapolis is hoping to raise $1 million for a second round of relief grants. The council's president says since March, its estimated local venues and artists have been losing $8.6 million per month. It comes as performances, events, and classes are canceled during the pandemic.
So these are our singer-songwriters. These are the artists performing in our bands. These are our classical musicians. It's, of course, our actors, our theater professionals, our dancers, our visual artists. We need more support. We need more support at the federal level to make sure our venues don't close. We're really getting into danger zone.
At 7:30, a free live virtual event will begin, and it includes a wide range of performances. Just go to indyarts.org/live. Money raised goes directly to grants that will benefit artists and organizations. At least 33 states are fighting an increase in cases, and 39 are seeing a rise in hospitalizations. The U.S. is headed in the wrong direction with more than 1,100 virus-related deaths and 76,000 new COVID-19 cases reported on Thursday alone. That is one of the highest daily totals since the pandemic began. In Utah, ICUs are filling up as the state sees a record number of new cases.
For the first time as a physician, I'm scared to see what's to come.
Schools are also dealing with new outbreaks. More than 200 students and teachers in Massachusetts tested positive for the virus last week. The University of Dayton in Ohio announced an 18-year-old freshman died Thursday after a lengthy fight against the virus. But there is new hope on the treatment front. Remdesivir has now been given the official green light of approval by the FDA for use on hospitalized patients, becoming the first and only approved treatment for COVID-19. They're fighting COVID-19 and working to keep Hoosiers healthy. And tonight, Central Indiana's biggest healthcare systems are also taking steps to eliminate racism as a public health crisis. More now from WRTV's Cornelius Hawker.
Dr. Ashley Meager was one of the hundreds of people who took part in the White Coats for Black Lives rally march in June. Medical professionals vowing to do their part to tear down systemic racism.
All of the systemic racism that's been built into the medical system for years, for decades, really affects our patients on a day-to-day basis, and it affects their lives.
That's why Dr. Meager is happy to hear 3 of Central Indiana's biggest healthcare systems pledge to address racism in healthcare.
It is crucial that health systems recognize and deliberately institute anti-racist policies to start breaking away at those decades of disparities.
To see the disparities in healthcare, you only need to look at the communities hardest hit by the pandemic. State health department data shows Black people make up a larger portion of COVID-19 deaths compared to a percentage of Indiana's population. So how does systemic racism play a role in this? African Americans tend to distrust doctors because of past unethical treatment. Think the Tuskegee study where African American men were lied to about getting treatment for syphilis. It lasted for 40 years. That, along with other issues like a lack of access to medical centers or affordable healthy food, has led to health problems like diabetes and high blood pressure. All things that increase the chances of dying from COVID-19, all things that can be traced back to systemic racism. So where do we go from here? That's the question I posed to Dr. Meager, and she says the change starts one patient at a time.
Physicians are on the forefront of kind of breaking down some of this and providing healthcare for a patient rather than a whole group of people as a kind of monolithic block.
Working for you, Cornelius Hawker, WRTV.
Included in the plan laid out by IU Health, Eskenazi Health, and Community Health Network is a commitment to finding ways to reduce healthcare disparities and to make sure their leadership teams reflect the demographics of the communities they serve. You can check out the full pledge and plan at WRTV.com. Election Day is now just 11 days away. President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden are back on the campaign trail today after they offered very different views on the path forward during last night's debate.
No, I wanted to play by the rules. They felt very strongly about it. It's two different styles. I'm able to do different styles, if you had to. But this seemed to be much more popular.
Well, that's for the public to judge. I felt good about it.
The United States Election Project says a record-setting more than 51 million Americans have already voted early in person or by mail. With 11 days until final votes are cast, that number surpasses the entire tally of early votes in 2016 and represents more than 1/3 of the total votes 4 years ago. The campaigns are now hyper-focused on the battleground states that will determine the outcome of the race. Former President Obama will also be back on the campaign trail rallying support for former Vice President Joe Biden tomorrow in Florida. President Trump will also still be in Florida tomorrow, where he will vote early in person. If you go to the polls and run into problems with your ID or your ballot, you may still be able to cast a vote, but election officials say that you have to fill out what's known as a provisional ballot. Stephanie Liebergen with our partners at Newsy explains exactly what that is.
What is a provisional ballot?
So a provisional ballot is a ballot for anyone who doesn't appear qualified at the moment. And then they are qualified or not after the election. And if they are qualified, then their vote is counted.
A variety of issues could prompt a voter to be handed a provisional ballot. Maybe they forgot their ID in a state where it's required, or their name isn't on the registration rolls.
Then you can ask, what do I need to do to get a regular ballot, to get my ballot counted now? And that's a conversation you can have on Election Day with the election officials.
Provisional ballots could also be used if a voter requested a mail-in ballot but decided to vote in person instead. In New Jersey, all registered voters will be sent a mail-in ballot, and anyone who chooses to vote in person will vote by using a provisional one.
We don't want voters walking away without having an opportunity to cast their ballot. A provisional ballot will be kept aside, it'll be put into an envelope, and after Election Day, after the rush of voting at the polls, they will take some steps to verify eligibility.
Stephanie Liebergen, Newsy, Miami.
Let WRTV be your central source for all you need to know before November 3rd. Go to our Vote in 2020 digital section on our website. You'll find everything you need to know there, including who's on your ballot, where you can vote and when, and any other questions you might have this election season. Coming up, a possible change in trend when it comes to voting blocks, the push to make sure older Americans maintain their loyalty to one party in particular. Now let's take a look at the fight for senior voters as President Trump visits the villages in Florida today. Trump won them by 9 points in 2016. Not now. Former Vice President Joe Biden has a 16-point advantage, according to a new Quinnipiac University poll out this week. COVID appears to be a major factor, and in his last night's second and third final debate, Trump once again took no responsibility. More now from ABC's Karen Travers.
Seniors are consistently the most likely to vote, and in every presidential election since 2004, they've gone for the Republican candidate. But this year, President Trump is fighting to keep them on his side.
President Trump campaigning in Florida today, trying to shore up support among senior voters with a stop at the Villages, the nation's largest retirement community.
The economy, I think he's done a wonderful job, and he speaks for the people.
The person in the White House has offended me so greatly on almost everything he's done, from taxes, foreign policy.
President Trump's success in 2016 over Hillary Clinton was driven in part by an army of seniors that made up a large portion of the electorate. Exit poll data showed the president won voters aged 65 and over by 7 points. But this year, it may be a different story. A new national poll from Quinnipiac shows Joe Biden up 16 points among older voters. But recent ABC News Washington Post polling in Florida and North Carolina shows Trump still ahead of Biden among likely voters over 65. But those margins are just half of what they were for the president in 2016. Sources tell ABC that Trump campaign aides have grown concerned about the president's declining support among older Americans, a group they know is critical to his reelection. Polling shows the president's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic a big reason why senior voters may be shifting to Biden. During Thursday's debate, the former vice president continued to hammer the president on the virus.
We're about to go into a dark winter, and he has no clear plan.
It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
Some senior voters also told ABC they didn't like the Trump campaign strategy of attacking Joe Biden's mental acuity, calling that insulting. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Rainfall to the south has been heaviest. There is a flash flood warning from Bedford over to Seymour. Look at the estimated rainfall amounts, anywhere from 2 to an isolated 4-inch amount. We'll talk about when rain is not in the forecast when we come back.
Well, just in case you need more reasons to wear a face mask in public, listen to this. According to a study out of the University of Washington, as of September 21st, only about 49% of U.S. residents reported they always wear a mask in public. But the study suggests if that number of mask wearers went up to 95%, more than 100,000 lives could be saved from COVID-19 through February. On the flip side, if mask wearing remains at 49% and states continue to remove social distancing mandates, the U.S. death toll could reach about 1 million deaths through the end of February. Jack in the Box is now offering a mask that not only helps protect you from COVID, it also smells like fried chicken. It's also a promotion for the fast food burger chain's new chicken sandwich, or perhaps it's better to refer to that offering as the unchicken sandwich since it's plant-based. The free face covering is now available on the chain's website at no cost starting today while supplies last. Target is putting into place new safety measures for the holiday season, and they include adding contactless self-checkout to locations, along with technology that allows guests to skip waiting in line, and more parking spaces for its contactless drive-up surface. The Target also plans to enhance its contactless same-day services. The store says the new measures are on top of the current ones it already has in place to keep guests and team members safe during the pandemic. Gap is planning to shut down hundreds of its Gap and Banana Republic stores. The company says it will close 350 mall locations in North America by 2024. Gap has 2 stores in central Indiana and others throughout the state. Executives expect about 80% of Gap and Banana Republic revenue will come from online sales, strip malls, and outlet stores. The San Francisco-based company is one of the biggest apparel retailers in the U.S. Families looking to get a jump start on the fun and safe Halloween activities can do so this weekend. Greenwood Parks and Rec is kicking off Halloween with a socially distant downtown parade tomorrow. It starts at 5 o'clock at Washington Street and will end in front of the Greenwood Community Center. The parade will feature nearly 50 companies and organizations, decorated floats, and families are encouraged to line the parade route in their costumes. And Whitestown is holding an outdoor family-friendly trick-or-treat event tomorrow, too. The trick-or-treat trail will be held at Anson Acres Park from 4 to 8. Local businesses and organizations will be safely spaced out and they'll pass out candy. Families will begin at the parking lot and make a one-way loop. And at the split into the woods, you can continue on or you can go into the spooky trail.
I probably wouldn't continue on.
Too scary, huh?
I'm going back to my childhood. Hopefully you factor into the costumes a jacket for tomorrow as temperatures dramatically colder now. This is the 24-hour temperature change. 31 degrees colder in Lafayette than 24 hours ago. You have some false confidence in eastern Indiana. The cooler air hasn't reached you yet, but it will as the cold front pushes all the warm and humid air out of the state. Okay, our severe weather threat is going, basically gone. Southeast Indiana still hanging in with a couple of stronger showers and thunderstorms closer to the Cincinnati area, but that will be disappearing. All of this in the last hour, pushing into the Buckeye State. We've still got rain, Newcastle back to Greenfield, and then heavier rain between Greenwood and Shelbyville. That's the last shot then of rain along the cold front. These showers will continue to push to the east and thin out as we go through the late evening hours and early overnight hours. Average hour temperatures. You can see what's happened here. Really through Wednesday and Thursday of next week, temperatures will be in the 50s for highs. We're not going to see a temperature surge at all because of this new pattern. The wind out of the north and northwest, that will keep our temperatures below average, drops the humidity and gives us a whole new feel. 53 during the day tomorrow. That's recovering from around 42. On Sunday, we'll start in the 30s, temperatures in the 50s with the chance of any showers should be Sunday night. The wind tomorrow out of more of a northeast direction, still 10 to 20. That will help dry out the leaves if you got to battle those after getting those quite soaking wet today. Temperatures tomorrow from 50 to about 56 for the high. Sunday, we're in the 30s when you wake up, but by the time we get to noon, 47. Afternoon readings in the low to maybe mid 50s. These are the high temperatures expected to end the weekend. Early next week, rain around Monday, 55. I turn the page, we're still in the 50s. We turn the page again, we're still in the 50s. That 7-day forecast, coolest morning comes in Wednesday at 35 degrees. Probably the best chance for widespread rain in the entire 7-day forecast occurs on Monday, 7/21. We'll be back with more after this.
It's been a roller coaster fall semester for students and professors, also for the small business owners who rely on those two to keep businesses afloat near campuses. But as our Amanda Brandeis explains, this is also a story about owners finding solutions with new technology that we all might be experiencing soon.
With scratch food and smoked cocktails, restaurants deliver an experience you can't get at home.
No crap on tap, 100% American bar, and we wanted people that were curious.
It's an experience many took for granted that was taken away for months, one now reshaped by a pandemic.
As a restaurant owner, you have to just lean in during these times rather than try to survive. You got to thrive, and the only way to thrive is to get really innovative.
Justin Nettleman is CEO of the Eureka Restaurant Group.
Third-party delivery was a very small part of our business pre-coronavirus. It's almost tripled in the last 6 months.
This San Diego location sits directly on a college campus and has been one of their hardest hit.
We're finding that the professor, administrator market is vaporized.
Pre-pandemic, Nettleman estimates 65% of their business was college faculty, which has all but disappeared. Students who stayed behind have helped keep the restaurant afloat now that they have fewer dining options around campus.
We were and still hope to remain once coronavirus is gone, kind of a halfway point, walking from home to school, coming back from school.
In addition to more outside seating and patio partitions, Eureka spent the last 4 months developing technology to ensure customers feel safe. Diners will soon be able to scan their phones at the door for a fully contactless experience, seating themselves, ordering food, and paying the bill with their phone.
It's reimagining what the future is going to look like. It's just a big fast forward to the future of casual dining, and for us,
knowing they can't rely on campus traffic or big crowds from sporting events, the restaurant is working overtime to let locals know they're open for business.
If you live in a college market, the best thing you can do is support local.
While business is still down 50%, they believe these forward-thinking innovations will pay off in the months to come.
Got a little kickback to it, too.
It's worth getting in your car, putting on your pants, and getting off Zoom and coming in.
In San Diego, I'm Amanda Brandeis reporting.
Rain confined to the eastern half of the state now. By the time we get to 11, should be drying up just about everywhere. There are your modest high temperatures. Is that a good way to put it for tomorrow, Mark? Modest?
Modest. I think that works there. Hey, thanks for joining us here for WRTV News at 7. We'll be back with you tonight at 11. Until then, have a great evening, everybody.